The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Vans.
Oh yeah, I wanted to be absolutely not attractive to snowboarders.
Maybe we need an injection of that, because it'd be interesting.
And I didn't sign the contract, probably just had it in my bag for a couple of months.
And we're all like, oh, that's just banging, let her run.
We pushed each other to become better.
Front three-tailed it.
Season 5 of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Anon Optics, Crow's Nest Barbershops, and Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. Support for the show also comes from Cypress, Grouse, and Mount Seymour, the 3 local mountains here in Vancouver. Thanks to all our sponsors this year for keeping me in great gear and supporting the show, making the show happen. Anon snowboard goggles offer innovations for perfect vision and functionality. Magnetic lens technology allows you to change lenses without taking the goggles off your face. Now, I can attest that this was key to me competing at the Mount Baker Bank Slalom. The conditions on the mountain change so rapidly. From one run to the next, it could be raining or snowing or bright sun. And having a couple extra lenses in my backpack, I could just swap out lenses depending on what I needed. And I even kept one special lens for my competitive runs that I would just snap in so it was clear as a bell and I could see, and it was an advantage for sure. Didn't make me win though, but more training is necessary for that. That's not Anon's fault. Come on. All right, do yourself a favor. Go to your favorite snowboard shop, buy yourself some Anon goggles, and enjoy your day. All right, I found this week's guest, Nate Holland, by Googling Lake Tahoe's most famous snowboarders. His name came up first. I was looking for someone to interview the morning of one of the days I was down there, and I called up Nate, and he was down to do the show, which was rad. He had heard of the show. I thought that was amazing. I mean, in his bio, he has won like 8 X Games gold medals. He's competed in at least 2 Olympics. He's a border cross machine. He also has some freestyle roots, and actually as soon as I sat down with him, I was like, oh, this is a guy who snowboards, like, passionately. I had a great conversation with him at my hotel room in Lake Tahoe, and then I connected with him at the bank slalom. We took a pow lap, we hung out a little bit. I fucking love this guy, and you will too. Here's my interview with Nate Holland.
It's not too bad.
I just rode Homewood yesterday with Dave Hatchett. Holy shit.
That's a cool resort, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. Like, his setup there is pretty exciting, you know, like that he lives 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
And so he can kind of like take the temperature, get out there, rock a couple laps, and then get to his day.
Yeah. It feels like you're riding right into the lake.
Yeah.
That's
it's
I mean,
gorgeous.
it's just,
yeah.
Tahoe is just, boom, such a presence.
Tahoe has blown my mind. Like, I've always wanted to come here since seeing like Western Front, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was all, I think that was all squaw or something.
Yeah.
And probably all shot in a day. It felt like
Totally. Totally.
Like everything made it in the movie. And this is the first time I've come here, and I mean, that's it. Like, if I'm going to plan a trip to the States, it's going to be here. You got, what, 20 resorts?
Something like that. I used to know, but I mean, it affected me, and I moved here in 1999.
Rad.
When I was 20 years old.
Is that the thick of the competition years, or is that the beginning of the competition years?
Well, I started competing at 12.
Oh my god.
And I'm from Sandpoint, Idaho. So that's like just 60 miles south of BC.
Yeah.
And I started snowboarding when I was 10. I was like, oh, this is like, I had skied before that and saw snowboarding, and I was like, oh, dude, that looks so much fun. And
what kind of board would there be for a 10-year-old?
The Burton Cruiser 135.
Oh god.
With the high backs up to my knees.
Yeah.
And, you know, just begged and pleaded for one for my November birthday, and
rad,
and got one, and went up, and, you know, I'd skied before that, so my ski equipment was basically, I had like old pair of slalom pants, like tight around the thighs, and then
with the
slalom pads.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm wearing these snowboarding. Like, I'd skated before that, so I had a sense of the style, I thought. And,
yeah.
But so I was like, all right, I'm going in like my ripped up acid wash jeans and spent the entire day on my ass.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like
frozen
those things,
to the snow.
That thing was a plank.
Oh, yeah.
For a 10-year-old to try and
I don't think I've ever seen one in real life, but I know that in those days the smaller boards were still just as thick in the middle as like the big boards.
Yeah.
So it just wouldn't flex or anything. Just like a nightmare.
Yeah. It was a challenge though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean, the first day it was basically hell. I was freezing my ass off. I was wearing my Sorels with like no duct tape. And there was one edge catch where I actually came out of my Sorels and they stayed in the bindings and cruised down the hill into like a POW field. And so 10-year-old kid running down the slope in his socks and getting his shit together.
That's exactly why we had to wear leashes. Most people didn't know that, but the leashes were because of the high amount of boards just like flying down the mountain.
Yeah.
So skis have brakes on them for that exact reason too.
Totally.
And so because snowboards had no brakes, the workaround was these leashes. The problem was when your board wasn't attached to your feet, the leash wasn't attached to you either. So if you drop the board, there's no brakes and it's going.
I think there was a
down the
leash,
hill.
but it was one of those ones with like a weird clip, and I couldn't figure it out. Remember those ones?
Yes, I do.
Those like it's like a silver clip that with like a And I was just like, well, I can't figure this out. Like,
so riding down
that
the hill.
first day was a rental board, and I was like chomping at the bit, and like I'm not going to waste
your-
my time walking back to the rental shop.
Right. And you're riding your acid wash jeans and just trying to
cool
jump
guy
or something.
it.
Yeah. That's amazing, dude.
I mean, but it changed. It hooked me.
Yeah.
And even having, like I say, it was hell, but I loved it.
That's rad.
Like I look back and I was like, wow, there's lots of trials that I went through that day, and I was just like, screw it. Like this is my jam.
Yeah. So you're competing by 12. That's pretty early. So you're competing in that Northwest Series or whatever it was.
The Northwest Series.
Yeah.
It was down at Silver Mountain, which is in Idaho.
Yeah.
Just like,
Where's Keith Wallace from?
Coeur d'Alene or Kellogg.
Yeah.
Like that. I think he's in Coeur d'Alene right now.
He was crushing it in those days.
Oh, yeah,
right?
dude.
Like A-Team Burton, like the man.
Totally.
That's
totally
so sick. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool because I mean he's an Idaho kid, so you're like, shit, there's like a path.
Totally. Yeah, I remember meeting a girl from Idaho in 95, 96 on one of the team trips. And she was like, there's more. Yeah, like we were like, are there ski hills there? And she was like, are you kidding? There's epic stuff there.
Yeah, it's a little off the beaten path.
Well,
and
Sun Valley is supposed to be incredible, right? Like, and that area, it's right near that valley is, or that mountain range is where Jackson Hole is, correct? Somewhere around there.
Well, yeah, Sun Valley's like central.
Oh, okay.
Idaho, and then Jackson is like southeast.
Schweitzer or something.
And then
down?
Schweitzer's far north.
Oh, okay.
And so all that stuff is pretty disconnected. There's not like a major interstate that goes north and south. Like to get down there, you have to like go through Missoula and
oh man,
like big roundabout way. So actually, all that stuff is pretty foreign to me.
Oh, cool.
We would compete, and we'd head over to Washington and Oregon. So a lot of like Mission Ridge, Crystal.
Cool.
Hood.
Yeah.
And all that stuff was that was the Northwest Series. I think all that southern Idaho stuff was considered Intermountain, and just like a totally different series.
Oh, there was like an Intermountain Series as well.
Yeah.
Which would have included Jackson, you think?
Yeah, and then Utah.
Oh shit. I can't figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like I said, I thought before I came down here, you could have told me that Lake Tahoe was like Lake Louise, like a resort. You just go to Lake Tahoe. Like but that's what I told people. I'm going to ride Tahoe because that's what I thought. But it's
big.
20 different resorts.
20 different resorts. I mean, it takes you an hour to drive to South Lake.
Yeah.
And that place is kind of foreign to me.
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, I seriously, I go to Europe more than I go to South Lake.
That's incredible.
When I am home,
it's
like I want to be home.
Yeah.
I spend enough time
in
a hotel room that it's like home is home, and I have squaw right here, so it's just like.
I remember Truckee as the name of the place where Damien was from. Like that was, if you'd see it in the magazines,
right.
They used to always do the profiles of people,
yeah.
And his would say from Truckee, California. So I always, anytime I hear or drive by a Truckee sign here, I'm like, oh yeah, Damien lived here. That's pretty rad.
Yeah, it's got a lot of history. A lot of riders.
Yeah, by the time you move here in 99, I'm trying to think of what era of snowboarding it is. That's where the Olympics have just happened, right?
Yep, the Olympics had just happened. And I was getting out of competitive snowboarding because in the Northwest Series, I was all about freestyle. We'd go half pipe, slope style. There was a couple years there that I even did slalom and GS, and like full hard boots. It was like, because I was like, I'm at these contests, I might as well like
do the whole thing,
and which I am glad in retrospect, looking back. It's like, all right, I've got a pretty wide skill set, a base to work off of, and there was some border crosses going on, and just I'd do anything. But I moved to Tahoe, and I was like, I want to come down here and ride and be a film star and like rub elbows with Kevin Jones, and like, I mean, the list is huge of people that have influenced me throughout the years from my early Northwest years, and like showing up to contests, and Peter Lines there, and Temple Cummings, and just always looking towards those guys, Todd Slosher, Dave Lee.
Rad.
Were like big influences, and guys that I kind of related to being a Northwest kid. And I mean, we were 6 hours away, Seattle 6 hours away from Sandpoint, but still though it was a huge influence. And then came down here and tried my hand at it, and I mean I was full bum, like lift off my first year to get the pass, and set some tile on the side and summer to make ends meet. And right around like 2003, the sun was basically setting on that career, or those ambitions. Kids are going bigger, spinning more, and I was like, oh, this is not happening.
Are you talking now about your like freestyle aspirations at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I would do like some Vans Triple Crowns and go and do big airs there. And
sick.
I mean, my best result was I qualified first.
Sick.
I had this like front side cork 9 that like if I could put that down, it was like good.
No shit, yeah.
But I didn't have a backside 9. I limited out at 720 on either side, and so it was like if I could hit my 9,
then
that was good.
Yeah.
But I wasn't progressing past that.
Yeah.
And so,
well, I mean, there's a certain progression point. It usually ends at an injury. Really, is what happens. Is that you get these tricks, and now they're your foundation for life, right? And there's these ones that are on the cusp that you can sometimes put down, like a front cork 9, which is it's a sick trick, dude.
Right. And if you go past that, you get smacked up pretty hard.
Oh yeah, and you start getting dizzy.
Yeah.
So you did pretty well at some of the big air / like slope style stuff was happening at that time too.
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't have a lot of money, so there was like local contests around town here.
Yeah.
And, there's like, you could win $500 at North Star every Wednesday night.
Wow, really?
And, for a half pipe. And then there was a little Budweiser Lord of the Boards.
That
had big
cool.
air, and you could win $500. They had like 3 contests a year. So you could live here, and I would hit up all those and try and make like a little extra cash. Of course.
Yeah.
But then I took this job with Budweiser, and we traveled around the East Coast, basically jumping through hoops of fire and doing.
Was it called the
aerial show?
Fire and Ice or something like that?
It was the Budweiser All-Star Aerials.
Because there was one in Canada called Fire and Ice. A couple of my buddies were for it, and like literally jumping through flaming hoops.
Yeah,
That's
I think they're doing like a
awesome.
Sam Adams tour these days.
And it's similar
Yeah, it's a show
for the people
which-
at the mountain that
which
day.
I thought, I was like, all right, I get a snowboard.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, I was the new guy, so I put up all the fencing around the place, and then would jump at night and get to ride. Little did I know it was all going to be on the East Coast, so the riding wasn't as good as it could be.
Sure. Sure.
As far as
Pow
POW
days.
and
Yeah,
POW
no
and
doubt.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But we were in Sugarloaf, and we were skating at the Sugarloaf indoor skate park, and Seth Westcott was there.
Rad.
And he's like, hey, dude, like, did you hear, like, snowboard cross is going to be in the Olympics?
Yeah.
And I had done some advanced triple crowns while I was there for big airs, and I was like, oh, shit, really? Like, all right. And ended up going to Hood Camp for the U.S. team. They did, like, trials there and won a spot to start World Cups.
Rad.
And kind of, like, from that point on, I was like, all right, well, like, I was naturally fast. So I, like, had to figure out a few things equipment-wise, and
Who were your sponsors going into it?
I think I was with Nitro
Yeah.
at that point.
Rad.
So it was just one of their free ride boards
Yep.
I started on, and then had a little bit of success. And then Palmer started
Yeah.
giving me boards.
Sick.
Sean did.
Did you know him personally from down here? Or
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'd met him, and, classic story. He was always a dick to me at first, and then
Yeah.
I kind of won him over. And,
Nice.
I mean, these days we're super good homies. And
Rad. Yeah, I wanted to get him this trip, but I think he's just out of the limelight at this point.
he's a hard one to hook.
He's just taking a
He is.
hiatus. He's retired.
I'm trying to get him to go to Baker with me this year for the bank slalom.
You know, if he won Baker again, that would just be like snowboarding could just stop. It's done.
Yeah.
It started with him and ended with him.
Totally.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So you caught his attention at these events, right? Because he was winning all this stuff too.
Yeah,
at
he
that
was.
time.
I mean, he was also a huge influence to me from like
Yeah.
the young years, and just
Yeah.
seeing his attitude, and just come off the pages of the magazine
Oh,
at
totally.
me, and just like, damn, this dude's like a wild man.
Yeah, like that one year where they're like, he's the greatest athlete in the world.
Right.
I remember being like,
Right.
they
That was
might
like
be true.
USA Today.
Yeah.
And that's like the Jordan era.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he was like
yeah.
he was like kicking Michael Jordan's ass.
Yeah.
On paper.
How crazy is that? Yeah, his attitude. And I actually embarrassingly kind of said to him, hey, did you find like border cross to be really easy, compared to like freestyle? Because that was my experience. It was like competing in a half pipe contest. The guys that were winning were doing stuff that I need a few years of training to catch
Right.
up. Whereas border cross,
It's obtainable.
it was obtainable because it's fast and technical, and like most people get in there, they don't really have that kind of air awareness that you need, and like that, like it's really just, it's very strategic,
Right.
But then so is half pipe. If you're thinking of but I said that to Palmer, like, did you just find it like kind of like you went to it because it was like basic? And he was like, are you kidding me? I invented it, right? Like he invented it over in France at Glenn Blake's house, like before
Yeah.
the Swatch tour. Like he wanted to do, that's what he wanted to do, moto on snow.
Yeah, I mean he's a big moto guy.
Yeah.
And like secretly he's definitely always wanted to be a motocross guy, and
I mean, didn't he compete in moto and he did fine? Right?
Totally. He made the main at the Supercross down in the Coliseum in LA.
That's
I
nuts.
believe.
So when he starts giving you boards, do you start like, are you kind of like traveling together like as a team kind of thing?
No, I made the US team.
Yeah.
So they basically took care of all my budget for traveling.
Rad.
And like it was a killer umbrella to be under.
Yeah.
And he gave me boards.
Yeah.
And then I kind of worked my way onto the team to get boards.
Yeah.
No paycheck.
Yeah.
And that lasted till just about almost till 2006 Olympics,
Yeah.
where then I got on Burton
Oh, wow.
for 5 years.
Oh,
and
damn.
then some paychecks started flowing. And
Yeah.
that was another good umbrella to be under as far as like making boards and making changes and working with JG and developing a race board.
That's incredible.
Which was a lot of fun. And you know, like, and then everything started really taking off around the Olympics that couple weeks before the 2006 Olympics, I won my first X Game gold medal. So it's like I'd won a couple World Cups prior to that, podiumed, but then it like really started snowballing from there on out. And,
from the X Games 2006 kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's intense. Yeah. So Palmer was training to be on that team. Did he go to the Olympics in that one?
He did not. We were.
Sorry, I don't want to make this all about Palm.
No worries. No worries. This is history.
Show,
this is history.
Yeah.
But no, Palm went for the 2006 and 2010 Olympics.
Yeah.
We traveled like full World Cup tour.
Yeah.
Prior to that, he had made the team in 2006.
Right.
And then he blew his Achilles at the next event.
That's gnarly.
And wasn't able to go.
Yeah.
Because of injury. And then he took a couple years off, and then came back for the 2010 push.
Yeah.
And just fell short.
Just missed it by like a spot or two. It was tragic. Yeah.
It was. It was like he was in a 3-way tie with himself, Ross Powers, and Nick Baumgartner. And they all had like 8th or 9th places, and then the second event, or their second best, and it just shook out that they took Dick Baumgartner and not Powers or Palm.
How excited about going to the Olympics were you? Was your first Olympics 2006, or did you go in 2002?
No, border cross wasn't in 2002.
Oh, that's right.
So 06 was the first one, and it was crazy. It was like I'd always been kind of a fan of the Olympics.
Sure.
I remember like watching like the Calgary Olympics when I was a kid.
Yeah, 88.
And like my parents let me stay up a little later than bedtime to watch an event. But I never like thought that, all right, I'm going to start being a snowboarder so I can go to the Olympics.
Right.
I was just like, oh, this is like so much fun. And there's people that are making a living at this, and let me try that. But then it kind of just snowballed into it and presented itself. And it was at a time where I was either going to get out of snowboarding completely, or not be a pro rider, or have to get a job, or I could follow this race path that for some reason I'm naturally fast. And I was like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, by any means necessary, stay in this.
Hell yeah.
And I'm glad that presented itself, because it's definitely, it gave me 16 years on World Cup of traveling the world and seeing a bunch of sites and going to 3 Olympics and winning 8 X Game gold medals.
Oh my God.
Like it bought a house for me in Tahoe, and
amazing.
And still, it absorbs my life. For the winter time. Yeah. For sure. I've definitely got away from snowboarding in the summer. Just to get away, have that break, and it allows me to bring a little bit more fire into snowboarding in the fall.
That's cool.
Just motivation.
Yeah, because for 16 years, were you doing summers at Hood or going over to Austria? And
we would do like a week at Hood every June, and then usually somewhere south of the equator.
Yeah. Right, Chile.
Whether New Zealand, Chile, Argentina.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally the last, I think, 2 years ago, I stopped snowboarding in the summer. Luckily those are just weeks.
Yeah.
Late August, you're kind of chomping at the bit, and you go to Chile and hit a POW day. You're like, oh, this is bitching. I was just in my flip flops, and now I'm spraying POW fans.
Yeah, that's so sick.
Which was cool.
Are you pretty hungry for POW out here? Like, do you have your routine as well? Like where you're watching the storms and then picking your spots?
Yeah. I'm on it for the POW days.
Sick.
And we've had a good opening season so far. I haven't hit a bad day yet.
Yeah. Today was my first kind of weird skunky thing. I just didn't know where I was.
That's right. You went up to North Star?
Yeah. That's a confusing place. It's just like, where do you park? It's not like a
Right.
resort where you just go and there's the parking lot. Like
It used to be.
Oh,
It
okay.
used to be.
I
But yeah,
see.
you got to take a gondola up to the lifts.
and there's no like instruction booklet or like even a sign that tells you.
Right.
It's I followed the signs to mountainside. Oh, I want to go to the mountainside.
yeah, you got to go to the mountainside.
That is not where that mountain is. That's the side of the mountain, literally. But I have the 3 or the 4 days that I had before today, Boreal for some park laps, which was perfect.
Right.
For a warm up for my legs, because BC's not firing yet. It's just starting to get going now. And then Squaw for it was empty. I got KT22,
Sick.
fresh tracks. I had to ask Ski Patrol. I saw a ski patroller going. Guy's name is Jason Mack, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know Jason Mack.
Oh, dude, that guy's so cool. I'm glad to mention his name on the show.
Yeah, he's been a guide of mine up at Points North.
Sick.
In AK.
I just saw him.
He's good shit.
Putting his skis on, and I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I follow where you go? Because obviously you're going to go somewhere awesome." And then he took me around. He showed me some cool stuff. Took me down Coleman Chute, and I
Good for you.
Yeah, I
Way
got
to
home and
speak
I was
up
like,
and just be
wow.
like, hey, I don't know where the hell I am.
Yeah. It was
Help
fun.
me out.
Yeah, it was so fun. So then
And he's a good guy. He's
Oh, he
probably
was
just
the
gonna be like,
best.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, imagine going to Squaw like a kook, like I did, like nobody, and then getting to ski Coleman, and the guy lets you go first. Like
Right.
he was like, "Yeah, you go ahead. There's like basically one track in here," and then he noodled down, and then the next day the sun came out, and I just went straight back to
Right.
KT22 because I'm like, "There's fall line. I kind of know where I'm going now," and then I linked up with Corey and KJ. And I was like, and Devin from New Greens, and it was like an all-time crew. And then yesterday with Hatchet that I already mentioned.
You're nailing it.
The best
Those
Tahoe
are some
experience
good
ever.
tour guides right there, for sure.
Yeah, the best.
for
best.
sure.
So have you had some experiences like that around the world where you show up in a Voyage or somewhere for an event, and then the event takes a side seat to, or a back seat to like pow turns with some rad people?
Totally. I mean, like I said, I just finished 16 years of World Cup. So there's definitely days of snow days, or, I mean, everyone talks a lot about Japan now. And the truth is, I mean, I think I've raced there like 5 different times. So something like 5 different trips, and every single trip I was there, it snowed. Like, I'm like, no, that's true. Like it goes off over there.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you're at a place that's you know, with a bunch of ripping riders. The entire World Cup's there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one memorable story is probably Sochi, the 2014 Olympics.
Yeah.
They basically built that ski resort for the Olympics.
Right.
And it was never open prior to the Olympics. We had like test events, but general public could never go on it.
Whoa.
And so there was a day where I believe it was a test event, and a bunch of the World Cup, they're all like testing their boards and wax and stuff like that, but it had just dumped. And Sochi, the Caucasus Mountains, they're no joke. Like, it's as gnarly as you want to go up there. And it was all lift access. So it was like, we got a little group put together. It was like myself, Westcott, Xavier Delarue, and Alberto Schiavon. Right. And we were riding this gondola, and we get to the top, and we're like, dude, look at all these chutes. Like, there's not a single track in them. I'm like, it's too good to be true. We got to like take a safety route around and like look up and see what goes. And everything went. It was all like super big couloirs or chutes, and you could basically go into it knowing that you could get out of it at some point. Just that there was no one riding the mountain, and there was patrol. Like, the mountain was functional, they just weren't letting public on it prior to the Olympics.
Right. That's incredible.
And so like that day was one that definitely stuck in my memory.
Would those count as first ascents, maybe, because probably nobody's ever gone down them before?
I wouldn't claim that, but maybe. I mean, it was an epic day on tour when, like,
resort.
we blew, in resort, and you blow off like kind of the work aspect of racing and say, what's going to be healthiest for me right now is not finding out what wax is the fastest. It's going riding POW and like shaking off some jet lag with an awesome crew.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you find it hard to balance the competitive responsibilities? Like, because when you're winning gold medals, you've got to be serious. You've got to have your wax on point. You've got to have your body in great shape.
Yeah.
You got to have your mind there in that competitive zone. Are there times where you've had to just like say, I can't think powder right now. I'm training or I'm racing.
There's definitely been those times.
Yeah. That's what it takes to win, right?
For sure. Especially like week of.
Yeah.
Because not only are you to have training, you're also conserving energy because you can burn yourself out. Like you decide if you're going to take 10 training laps, you're going to be pistoled for the race.
Yeah.
Where like you take 3 and then, I mean, it's gotten, when I started, I would do my own wax.
Yeah.
And now you have wax techs and there's coaches and there's physical therapists.
Yeah.
And like it's a whole operation and it's a lot different from when I first started where, you're carrying your 3 bars of wax and one of them's your lucky one. So you got to put, no matter the conditions, you put a little bit of that graphite in there no matter what.
I love it. That's awesome.
Because you won some race with it like 2 years ago. So
Right.
you're like,
I have that right here. Mach 2 blue.
Perfect.
From Q-Sport. It's my lucky wax.
yeah.
But
And a lot of it's mental, so I mean.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you got that on.
Yeah, I'm going to be racing the bank slalom for the first time this
I
year.
heard that.
Yeah,
one of your
I'm
prior.
excited.
Sweet. I'm stoked for you, dude.
I think you just gave me some good tips there too, because I tend to overtrain. Like I think like more time on the mountain, like just acclimatizing to what the conditions are going to be that day, and then just last year for the Mount Seymour baked salmon.
Yeah.
I got like a joke board from the Salvation Army, which was an oxygen, one of those European, like not a race board, but like an alpine.
But it was an oxygen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I had to ride it. I rode it with soft boots at like 60-45.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I just kept going like that's Mount Seymour. I would make it down in like 4 turns.
Right.
And I found like just going fast got me, because I ride slow usually. We're usually stopping, hitting a thing, stopping, hitting a thing, stopping, hitting a thing. And just getting in that mindset of going fast, I think that helped me in the race. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Some speed training.
Training, yeah.
Getting used to, I mean, Baker. Who knows what Baker will be this year, right? I mean, they've had minute-long courses and they've had minute-and-a-half-long courses.
Yeah.
And, if you're not pistoled by the end of either of those times, you're really not giving her, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a dog tongue of an event. I mean, you get to the bottom, you watch every person come through there. They're huffing and puffing, tongues hanging out of their face.
Oh, totally.
It's awesome.
Have you won it?
Around. I did. I won in, was it 2009?
Oh, that's amazing. Amazing, dude.
I won that, and I've gotten
gold roll of duct tape,
a gold roll, and I think 1 silver and a couple bronze.
Congrats, dude. That's
amazing.
The
attraction to that event is just for me. I mean, growing up in Idaho.
Yeah.
And you would never there wasn't the internet, so there wasn't on the news who got what. You'd have to wait for the magazine the next month to pop out, or maybe a buddy went over there and saw the results, or you'd hear rumors trickle through. But
I always hear Terrier won it again.
Terrier, or even before that, it was Craig Kelly or Palm won the first one, or not the first one.
Two. Oh, yeah, no, maybe he did win 2. The first one and the second. His story he told on the podcast was that he won the first one. Second year, Tom said, we don't have budget to send you there. So he got like a completely non-Sims board, got his way up there, won the race. And Tom was like, sorry, gave him more boards. And he definitely at least won that second year. He might have won the first year.
I think he did, because it was like the 30th annual.
Yeah.
He was like, we were riding a bunch that year. And I don't remember why he didn't win. He backed out. But he's like, dude, how sick would it be if I won 30 years later? Like, I'm like, do it, dude.
Do it.
But something popped up, and
it's a crazy tight competition too, right? Like it's the fastest snowboarders on the planet.
It's gnarly. And it takes some time to learn that course and like to like kind of trust the walls and
right.
And get that slinging feel.
Yeah.
Like, all right, if I throw this up on the wall, it will come around, and sometimes the bank ends, and so you got to like plan ahead and be like, all right, I got to get off the bank before it ends, and they're all just turns, there's not like big features in between that'll break it up. So you can like,
right.
You can get lost in there, honestly.
What turn you're in, or what's coming up. Right. How do you deal with that? Do you count them on your fingers, or do you just go on? You take your 3 laps or your 2 or 3 laps?
Yeah, I do a side inspection like everyone. Creeping over the thing, getting yelled at to get back off the fence line. And just kind of looking in. If you see a hole in like turn 4, then sometimes like or turn 4 is pretty easy to remember. But if there's something in turn 12, I will actually count down the course. Like, all right, 1, just in my head, 2, 3. All right, here comes that crux of a turn.
Yeah.
And then that's usually for the top. And then the trees, the 2 big trees, those are a good landmark.
Yeah.
And then that little straight section. So I kind of break it into little sections and if a turn just looks good, I'm just going to run it. It's stuff that I look at that will like mess with me or try and fuck me up that I got to be prepared for. I mean, it's a long course, and it takes and it's relatively fast for a bank slalom. And one of the attractions is just being there. And it's like a gathering, a pilgrimage of snowboarders to go up and go to the longest running snowboard race in the world, and it's such a rootsy event, it's still grassroots, and
totally
lots of people having a good time. And hell, if you get some pow turns in between, you're stoked on that.
Yeah, last year there was good pow, and lots of years there's good pow, huh?
Yeah.
Sunshine last year too, I think, right?
There was for race day.
Saturday, I think, maybe. I don't know if I went back Sunday. Sunday weather blew in. Actually, I did go back Sunday. I was supposed to do a little tour with Pat A.
Oh, nice.
But I kind of chickened out, to be honest. Like, they were going just across to some face that Craig had done, like, 10 years before, 20 years before.
Right.
And it was steep.
Yeah, you can get into trouble there. Big time. Mm-hmm. Big time.
When you go to, say, the bank slalom, do you... Or any competition now, are there nerves for you anymore? Or are you just still?
Totally.
Wow.
I mean, and yeah, that's why I love competition.
Yeah.
Is like, it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, turn 12. Like, fuck, do I just fire? I got to fire into that. Like, shit. Like,
that's right.
Harry Carney's crushing it right now. Or like,
always.
And, there's always a new kid coming up. Or,
yeah.
And then there's also just like people that have been there forever that just slay it as well.
Yeah.
And you gotta go for it. And so to tell yourself that and to be able to like charge it as hard as you can and stick a clean run.
Yeah.
Is pretty challenging.
Yeah.
I'm getting out of a snowboard cross. I'm 41 now. And so I've got a 4-year-old at home, and family life's like pretty important to me.
Yeah.
Sitting in a hotel room in Europe doesn't really have the appeal that it used to.
Yeah.
But with that, like I do have a competitive spirit, and last year I felt like I didn't have the right equipment up there, so we're actually like sitting at the bar and with Wes Makepeace and Smoke and Jay. I'm like, Smokey, dude, we gotta build a board. And so we did. We built. I designed a couple boards with them this year.
Oh, that's dope.
That are coming out. It's called the Momentum, and it's got like a 58 and a 63. It's like 58 is something like I'd ride at like a Dirksen, like kind of a smaller, turnier track, and then a 63. So I'm looking forward to seeing if what the numbers in my mind once we made it into a board, how it's gonna ride up there.
So you've been designing boards for almost 20 years at this point, right? Or for 15?
Yeah, having some sort of. Did you have input at Nitro at all? Like I don't really know the structure of that company. I'm going to be talking with Benny Pellegrino when I'm in Salt Lake, not tomorrow, the next day. And Nitro's been making moves. They look good. Like Nitro boards have always ripped.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I've
From
always,
the Pyro way back when. Like that was such a pinnacle.
Didn't they have like the first like heel side? Like this is your heel side only.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It's twin tip.
That Pyro. That's what
the Pyro,
was.
isn't it?
It was
right.
sick. I think they got that. I don't know. I'm guessing though from windsurfing because they had some sort of connection to windsurfing, and at that time windsurfing boards would be asymmetrical. They'd lengthen the heel side to go with the angles of your feet. Huh. And I don't know what the whole genesis of the deeper heel side thing was. And a funny thing, I've said it on the show, but for me, I'll switch those around because I find so for the listener, an asymmetrical twin board will have a deeper heel side cut and a shallower toe side. And the idea is that heel sides are a little bit harder to do. Yeah. So if you give a little more aggressive radius in there, you can make a little more aggressive turns. But I find the way that I ride, anytime I'm on my heel side, that means I'm traversing something heel side. I don't want to traverse with like a tight radius thing that's like trying to
hooking up on you.
Hook. I want to have that longer thing. And then also I'm a child of the 90s, so I like toe side hooking airs if I'm coming off a jump, and you just like come off your toe side with that hook, and that deeper side cut on your toes totally works for that. So I ride those backwards, and I've told people to do it, and they're like, "You're an idiot." But
that's cool, man.
Yeah, but
like whatever works.
That's the original one. That's cool that you know that the Pyro had that like in '89 maybe or something.
Yeah,
like way back.
Yeah, I mean, I was roommates with the Nitro rep out here in Tahoe.
Cool.
Chris Cowell, and so he started floating me boards.
Yeah.
And then I think I won an X Games Ultracross on one, which was like the skier snowboarder pair up.
Yeah, that was like dope.
They pulled our names out of a hat. And then the TM, I can't even remember. It was years, but he started flowing me product before.
And then you did some Palmer stuff.
Then Palm's like, dude, you gotta ride these boards. Like,
yeah, and
I designed these.
Yeah.
And then I went Burton and rode for them for 5 years and had some input with Drew Nielsen. He was the other Burton snowboard cross guy. So
did he win Vancouver? No. JCJ won.
No, Westcott won.
Oh, Westcott won. Right.
Yeah.
What did JCJ win? He won something at that. They named a run after him. Maybe he got
GS.
Did he? Oh yeah.
Was he at?
That's 2010. Like the Vancouver Olympics were.
I don't know if he was at 2010. He was definitely. We might have kicked all the hard booters out of the event by then by just course design and making it more freestyle oriented.
It was. There was a lot of big airs in that, huh?
Yeah.
That was a weird event just for there was no snow anywhere on the North Shore.
That was intense.
They were buying snow from Mount Seymour and trucking it in dump trucks and bringing it.
And helicopters. They had cranes, and like all the jumps were made out of like scaffolding.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I remember a couple training runs from that, and like the first day I was like, dude, I can't even fucking snowboard.
Right.
Like I do like ice section to like 6 inches of slush, like before you're supposed to hit like a 60-footer, and I'm just like, luckily it all set up.
Yeah.
But I mean, up top at the start, like you'd walk into the woods to take a whiz, and you're like in the dirt.
Yeah, man. That's my home mountain.
It's a cool mountain.
We were watching it going like, oh no.
Yeah.
But the way they shot it with cameras, it looked like there was snow everywhere.
Right.
But if they ever did a pullback, you could just see it's just like two little strips of snow down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
It was crazy. It was crazy for sure, but they were able to pull it off.
Yeah,
I mean,
they pulled
through
it
the
off.
week of training and stuff, it like set up, and
Yeah.
they were able to pull it off, which, was awesome.
Where were you guys staying when you were in Vancouver? Did they put you up in Whistler, or did they
No, there's
Olympic Village down?
There is Olympic Village, but the U.S. just got us a house kind of at the base of the access road.
Oh, rad. That's dope.
So, yeah, it was. We were in some huge, like, 8 or 9 bedroom house.
Like overlooking Lions Bay right there.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
had a view, and
nice.
it was gorgeous for sure.
That U.S. team thing seems like they've got money and they want you guys to win, right? Like, so they're
Totally
investing in competitive snowboarding.
Yeah, I think that they had some like bad, not bad, but they've had some situations in past Olympics where you're staying in an Olympic Village and it's just kind of out of the norm. And the way it was explained to me is like people get sucked into the Olympics so much, which is fine to do, but maybe not prior to your competition. Because at the end of the day, it's just a snowboard event, right? It's just It's just a half pipe. It's just a border cross,
Right.
And you can get sucked in like, holy shit, all the lights and the action, and there's the
It's notorious.
bobsledders and
right? The athletes hooking up and just like people from all over the
right,
world.
which
just
you can go
going.
wild after.
Yeah.
After your event, in my opinion, and well practiced at it, because I mean, you get a free pass to like all these events, and
Oh yeah.
people are raging. And Vancouver was awesome.
The whole town turned into a big beer tent. That was
Totally.
I remember being like blown away by how foreign my home city felt. It was insane. There were just like beer tents all over the place for every country.
Yeah,
So like really good beer everywhere.
totally.
And people were just in. You know what? Vancouver's a pretty private place. Like everybody kind of keeps to themselves. A lot of people jogging with headphones and running the grouse grind, or a lot of outdoorsy people, but not like meeting in social groups. Everything closes really early. Like the bars close at like 1 and stuff.
Right.
But for that Olympics, it was like this really happy, outgoing
It was awesome.
place.
It was awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, inside the Olympic Village, the McDonald's at 2 a.m. would go off every night because all the athletes were stumbling back inside and ordering cheeseburgers or Big Macs and stuff. And it was a cool experience. Definitely took advantage of it. Went to the USA Canada hockey game.
Oh wow.
And like got to watch that. I was like, damn, dude, these Canadians are fucking pent up on their hockey right now.
Oh, big time.
I was calling. I was like, dude, this place is it's gonna riot if USA wins.
Oh.
And sure as shit, like 2 years later, you guys were in the Stanley Cup and lost, and the riot happened. And I was like, dude, see that shit? I called it. Like I could feel it. There was like
Vancouver has
tension in the air.
the esteem of being the only place that's rioted when they lost. Everywhere else that has a riot, it's when they win. They like party like and riot. But we rioted like a bunch of babies.
like pissed.
Yeah, like pissed. Isn't that insane? You called it. Like
I could
Yeah,
feel it. I
you
mean,
feel
there
it.
was nights. I mean, after the event, I was going out almost every night. There was something to do,
yeah.
and I was seeing events and kind of kicking it, waiting for the closing ceremonies. And there was nights I was like, dude, I'm not wearing any of that USA shit. Like, I want to go out and like have a good time at bars and not have somebody like talking smack to me that the hockey game's coming up. And I totally get it. I get rivalries, and like I think that's healthy. And I talk smack myself. So
Good. Yes.
it was just more of like just avoiding a situation, but that game was intense. I remember that was good times.
Yeah, I'm such a not sports guy that but you can't help but hear you can hear what's going on in the game in the whole city. I remember
Right.
when we won, I had my family in the car and we were going snowboarding. I think, probably going up Grouse or something. And we just drove down the main street all the way there with our hands out the window high-fiving. Like you just
You're like,
hold
"Shit,
your
they
hand
won."
up, and everybody from oncoming traffic had their hands out. We're just like, everybody was high-fiving like crazy.
That's cool.
And honking their horns. I remember I could just drive around town honking my horn for no reason, and people would just join in.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. Man.
Celebrating.
Yeah. So you lived in that world for 16 years, like competitions, like World Cups. Like when a World Cup shows up in a resort, they pull out all the stops. Like, you guys are like
they
royalty.
do. They do. I mean, well, I wouldn't say that, but I mean, typically when a country hosts a World Cup event, they want to do it in a pretty nice place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just for that sake, we've traveled to some pretty nice resorts and have been set up, which is like a far cry from my upbringing in snowboarding, where it was like, yeah, I'll sleep in my board bag.
Yeah.
Like, if like it doesn't matter, it's like top ramen and board bags or dirty carpets or,
Totally.
you know, I mean, that's why when I first made the U.S. team, I think my first World Cup was in Whistler. And we were in the Whistler Village, and it was me and my buddy, and we had a whole room to ourselves. And we're just like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I got my own room.
Yeah.
We got TV. It's fucking warm. This is insane.
Yeah.
And I mean, all the countries put up their athletes pretty well. Canada's got a good program as well.
Yeah, that's rad. I've only done a couple of competitions, and I think one of the main ones, we slept in the truck. Yeah, it was fucking freezing.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's uncomfortable. 3 dudes sleeping in the back of a Suburban, like, and then you get up in the morning, you're like,
You're so
okay,
stiff.
This is the worst, and you can't get warm all day. We just sat in the truck warm, you know, like.
Yeah, it'll kill it. That's why,
brutal.
like at Baker, a lot of people, I've got some friends that do the RV thing.
Right.
And it looks super fun.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm too old. Like I gotta wake up and take a hot shower and do a stretch, hit the foam roller and start getting some stuff moving a little bit.
I did the drive all the way back to Vancouver from Baker on the Saturday night. While I was sleeping in my bed, I was thinking about all those people up on that windy mountain, the freezing cold. And I was like, there's a handful that have, like, you know, Mike Bassage has somewhere comfortable.
Right.
Pat A's place, comfortable.
Yeah, some people have it dialed.
Yeah, but sleeping in a tent on a
Ooh, the tent dudes, I don't understand that.
no way.
I don't know. I just, like I said, I'm a hot shower in the morning type of guy.
Me too, dude. That's awesome.
You know, and be able to hang your boots up and get those dry at the fireplace.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm just spoiled now, but
Well, I guess 16 years of traveling on, you know,
someone else's dime. Yeah,
That's
it'll
awesome.
do it. It'll do it.
And you're able to buy a house here, you were saying, so that's epic.
Yeah.
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 I mean, obviously you've been able with that career
stuff lined up, and there was definitely better years in snowboard cross than I think the current state is right now. There used to be competing tours. They had like the Jeep King of the Mountain tour, so you'd go, and that was like 3 events in the States, and then of course X Games. There's no longer X Games or snowboard cross in the X Games.
What happened there? Is it kind of the same as like they just trimmed down, or they needed to make room for the computer guys, or video games?
That's funny. That's funny. It's a long ass course. It takes a lot of money to build those courses, and the way X Games does it, I mean, the mounds of snow are as big as houses.
Yep.
And the length of the course was, I think, maybe twice the length of the slopestyle course. So then you need twice as many cameras to shoot it. And it used to come down and hit the current big air kicker. That's where we used to end.
Yeah.
And so then big air became a bigger thing.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't, there's one year that we shared it, and it was just, and then we started finishing halfway up the hill.
Oh, wow.
And I think that I think it was just budget.
Yeah, because if
reasons.
they're going to go, they have to go big, right? Like, so when they look at, okay, what event can we do properly?
Yeah, it's got to be done properly.
That's the first one that's like...
And, you know, I mean, racing snowboards is definitely the redheaded stepchild of snowboarding. You know, I mean, it is. There's absolutely no... Freestyle is supreme. And
Yeah.
except for like the big reemergence of bank slaloms around the area.
Yeah,
And
isn't that kind of a weird anomaly, hey? That it's like...
I think it's obtainable.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. You can be
yeah.
50, you can be 70 years old and 5 years old.
Yep.
And everyone's going to have a good time.
Super fun.
And everyone is having a good time. It's pretty loose feeling. And you know, there's going to be people competing at high levels, and there's going to be people trying to make it down the course. And then there's going to be people comparing their times across ages.
It's true.
I mean, I remember Bob Klein was up there and we were sharing a room. He was my agent for years.
Sick.
And Klein's like, well, Nate, if I would have been like 4 seconds faster, I would have gotten Goodwill. And they're like totally different age brackets.
That's epic, though.
And it's just like he was sitting there studying the times and sheets and
Oh, yeah.
on like a Saturday night or Friday night. And it's just cool. Everybody loves it, and it doesn't take much to build. And
Yeah.
you can ride them in.
And you can leave them after, actually. That's true.
You can leave them after.
Because the public loves them. They're
Totally.
so much fun. Yeah, I never really thought about how big of an undertaking building a board-across course is.
Yeah,
You know, think about that compared to like a video game tent, right?
totally.
Where the guys just have a bunch of computers. Probably they just, all they need to set up is a bunch of, outlets for them to plug their stuff in. That's it. Some good monitors and
Right.
compared
Right.
to...
I remember when those guys first came. We were like, I was riding a Monster shuttle from like the Monster Hotel to the event, and I was going to go watch some event, and these guys are sitting there, and we got to chat, and I'm like, what do you guys do? Like, I thought they worked for Monster. I thought they're like the IT guys for Monster. they're like, no, dude, we're in video games. And I was like, I think I laughed a little bit because like I couldn't fucking help it. Yeah. And they're like, what are you talking? Like, one of them said, like, we get more eyes on or more attention than like NBA finals.
Sure.
And I was like, shit, like, hell, I don't know that. I don't play video games.
My kid watches that stuff, and I've had 5 or 10 years to get used to it, and it really boggled my mind, because for me, watching someone play a video game means you're at somebody else's house and they're an asshole. Like, you're not getting a chance to play. They're playing. You're sitting there going, this is fucking lame, man. Why don't we go outside or do something?
That's like our generation. All right, dude, do I get to play yet? Like,
yeah, what the hell? I don't want to watch anyone else play.
Watch me beat this game.
Yeah,
Watch me play the first level, and then let's go outside.
It's like, if I got to watch for more than 2 minutes, I'm out.
Totally.
But he'll watch for an hour, or 10. He would watch as long as... And he thinks the guys are funny, and so yeah, that's crazy. But then, in thinking about that, because I don't think those guys should be in the X Games. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
X stands for extreme, which is embarrassing, but still, there's nothing extreme about sitting watching a computer. It's not. There's nothing about it that takes any physical anything.
I mean, what is that? That's just ESPN selling out to try and get eyeballs on their...
Right.
Because, I mean, they tried it on, like, TV, too.
Oh, did they?
They're like, I saw, like, this hour's dedicated to video games. I'm like, how do you show that on television? Like, I get... If there's a big crowd, and then people are going to always, like, watch it on their computers, because it seems like that's the crowd. But I was pretty baffled that it was, like, on television.
But remember the first X Games with the shovel race? Remember that? Like, they were just throwing shit at the wall at that point.
Shovel racing,
I think
downhill
mountain
biking.
Downhill mountain biking.
He won the mountain biking.
He won the mountain biking, right? Because that's just chaos. Like, what the hell is that even? But the shovel thing, that will always stick out for me as like, Like, because I wasn't sold. I wasn't sold on X Games on TV. I just was like, whatever.
Right.
Competitions are whack anyways. Like, let's just go find POW or find a jump or something.
Right.
But the shovel thing, I was like, this is giving just snow sports in general a bad name. But it was not video games. Jesus.
That's worse, isn't it?
Like,
I'd rather watch shovel racing.
Me too. I'd
than
rather bring it back for real. I was like, yeah, and like watching guys skate.
I mean, at least someone's gonna can get hurt doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's blowing a fucking thumb out,
falling off a stool or something. Yeah, that's funny. It's a crazy world that we live in. That is, and influencers are taking over for like athletes in a lot of arenas as far as like where the money goes, right? Like. You've had years of watching, like, okay, here's where the money goes. Here's a way of getting money, right? Like, who are the main money sponsors that you were under during the? During the
Burton, Monster.
Yeah,
Monster was a huge one.
How does that come about? Like, does Monster approach you and say, like, okay, you're the?
I think it was like 5 minutes before the race in 2006, and Klein showed up with a Monster sticker, and he's like, if you put this on your helmet and win, they'll give you $5,000.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, give me that thing. Like, there wasn't a sticker.
Yeah.
And then I won.
Yeah.
And then that kind of put me in right away. Like, I got a much better contract the next year. And then after like 2 or 3 years with them, Rockstar came to the table, and then we had a little. I remember I was like in the gym riding a bike, and Pop calls me up. He's like, "Who do you want, Rockstar or Monster?" I'm like, "They're kind of equals to me, like as much money as we can get, right?" Like,
right. Because you're not chugging Monsters, right? Like it's not like they're sending you cases of Monster, and you're like, "Oh yeah, this is my."
There was a point there they were. It was like in my contract, I'd get like 2 cases every couple months or something. Stuff was just stacking up in my garage.
Yeah.
I mean, if I drink a Monster, it's typically with some vodka. For sure.
Well, their coffees, and this is not a Monster commercial, but my friend Mark Grady back in Canada, it works for Monster, and he's dropped off cases at Canada Post where I work, because everybody's walking all day.
Right.
And I'll tell you, those things give you energy. They sure do. Like energy to like, like you could run your mail route, but then the next day you need one just to live your life. That's how it felt to me. And I did probably months of Monsters, and I like their coffee. That stuff's good. But
I started giving them to my neighbor.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, Ron, older man, like here's a case of Monster. He's like, oh, those are really good. He's like, can I have a couple more? And like I said, they're taking up room in my garage. So I was like, here, dude, here's like 3 cases.
Yeah.
And it was like a month later, he's like, hey, you got any more of that stuff? I'm like, and he kind of like snuck over, and he's like, don't just bring them over. Like the wife's kind of mad. I'm hammering you. I'm like, well, how many are you drinking? He's like, kind of like 2 or 3 a day.
Oh God.
And I'm all, Ron, dude. Like, no, bud.
That'll
like
kill you.
I'm not gonna contribute to that. You gotta wean yourself off, bud.
Yeah, they're hard to get off of. That's the thing. Is that doing a day? It's just like coffee or any stimulant for me. Is like, that's not my jam. I'm this with no coffee. Like I'm. Blah, 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 blah. So you add a coffee or, God forbid, a Monster, I'm going to be up until 4 a.m, and then I'll be back at it 6 a.m. Like it's just too much for me. But it's a contentious subject too, like with, the drink water guys and like people saying like, hey, it's not really snowboarding to shill for an energy drink company. I know Terrier was huge on that, still is.
Yeah, but he has the luxury of getting paid.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he has the luxury like to say, yeah, I'm not going to compete in the Olympics. I'm already killing it. I'm going to be set for life.
Sure.
Where there's other people that have been eating top ramen, sleeping in board bags, and and now they're going to collect a check for a sticker on a board and a helmet.
Right.
I mean, and make a living at it.
Right. Well, you got a 4-year-old now, so it's like, I bet if they came to you now and said, Rockstar, we want you to drive around in a rock star sticker van.
Right. That'd be
kid.
tough. I have some sort of moral compass. I'm not just saying like just sell out, but there's situations like I never fault anyone for getting a sponsor.
Right.
Unless it's like, who knows, some like gnarly gas company that's just raping, like a fracking company that's raping the world. Right. Then I may take issue, but.
Or like, yeah.
But I mean, a lot of those energy drink companies have done really well for athletes. And I mean, not just myself, but.
And for sports.
And for sports.
Generally speaking. Yeah, so did Coca-Cola.
They throw a bunch of money at snowboarding.
So did McDonald's, so did Coca-Cola.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing if those guys are taking some of the money that they're getting from selling garbage to people that want garbage and making events that pay athletes actual money.
Totally.
I'm the same as you. I don't shit on anyone for having a sponsor.
Yeah.
Like at some point you have to make those decisions. And like I said on the show, I did a cigarette ad when I didn't even smoke because it was money. I'm like, that money is going to go into my kid's bank account. Like,
right.
So I'll tell them later, don't smoke. And if you can spend the money of the cigarette companies, then.
Right. At least the money's flowing that way at some point, you know?
Right. Instead of the other direction. Right. But. Unreal. Who's your favorite sponsor that you've had?
God, that's a tough one. I mean, maybe Monster because they paid me the most.
Yes.
Let's be real.
Not what I was expecting, but that's so amazing. Were you ever tempted when you were on?
I mean, there's GoPro is a cool sponsor. They do a bunch of athlete trips, and you know, like when I was on the team, we got to go over to Turtle Bay on the North Shore for a week, and then they took us to CMH Heli, and then they took us down to Australia to the Gold Coast. Oof. These are like trips where they invite all the athletes and
across all sports.
Across all sports, and they give us like seminars on how to operate the camera and get good content, and kind of it's learning based,
like an influencer summit or something like that.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Actually,
it was a blast, and then they'd have all these different activities. So after you like learn a hot tip on a GoPro, you can go out and try and shoot it.
That's incredible.
I'm having a lot of fun working with smoking right now, just kind of like post race career, and you know, it's like we didn't want to name it like the Nate Holland. I wanted it to like go across all. Anybody could ride it. It says designed by me, and it's called the Momentum. But like just talking to him, and he's super energetic and like enthusiastic about it. And
yeah,
he's always wanted to build. I mean, it's a free ride board,
right?
That has a fast base on it.
Is it taper at all?
It's a little bit of taper.
Cool.
So 1 centimeter taper. I mean, it's really based off of a conglomerate of boards that I really liked.
Yeah.
And like from Custom X64,
yeah.
I rode for years with Burton, and I love that thing. I think I can just do everything. To ride this D-Day Chris Roach, the first gen.
Yep.
That I really liked, and
that had a lot of taper, right? That was
I don't think it had any taper.
Oh, okay. I think I'm thinking of another board, the one that had the swallowtail on the base, like it looked like a swallowtail.
Yeah, no,
but it wasn't really.
It wasn't that one.
Yeah.
But kind of just these boards from like 58 to 64.
Yeah. That
I really liked, and I just pulled tapes on all of them, and
cool.
And I mean, I know what I can, and then I got a lot of experience with building border cross boards through Kessler as well, and so a little bit of taper it makes for a board to go fast, straight. Right. And it's cool in the powder.
Yeah.
And what I wanted is not for someone to like think, oh, this is just a bank slalom board. Right. It just needs to be an all mountain weapon with a fast base on it that you can rip in a bank slalom. And last year I I didn't feel like I had a good enough board for the course, and my board was too long. It was a border cross board. It was a little too stiff, and so got in that conversation with Smokin' and Wes Makepeace, and Smokin' called me up, and so we just started punching numbers and trying out stuff. And
that's super rad. He's
makes
local here, right?
Yeah, he's down in Reno. The factory is, but the first time I saw Smokin's factory was actually here in Kings Beach, and it was in a crawl space of a house.
That's amazing.
Like the dude's been doing it forever.
Forever, yeah.
And so yeah, he's like, I've always loved Smokin', and so it's easy to make something with the factory right in Reno and bring it up and test and stuff. And
have you had a chance to test your shape yet?
I have. Yeah, we actually last year we got one produced right before the Rally for Rocker, which is that backcountry bank slalom on Donner Pass.
Yep.
It's a fundraiser for the local skate park.
Dope.
And Danny Davis and I we tied.
What?
We tied.
How is that even possible?
Just down to the 100th, and we ended it in a Rochambeau.
Oh, that's amazing.
Contest, and it was fun. It's a fun event. I mean, you hike up, and it's just like this Ho Chi Minh Trail that goes up, and you crest over this little rollover, and you see, and there's 500 people that show up for this thing.
So sick.
It's like everyone pays $20.
Yeah.
And they give you like a piece of duct tape with a written Sharpie number on it. Nice. And it's just full fundraiser. So they're just like, all right, put the cash away. And then someone shows up with some timing. And throughout the whole week, locals go up there and throw a couple shovel loads around and build the thing. And it's just like a big community event.
That's super fun. Those are happening all over the place.
They're popping up.
That's the thing that happened for me last year with the Seymour baked salmon. It's a real community event, and it's so much fun to go up there and see everybody participating and building the course, and then it's such a positive event, you know.
It is.
And it was also a fundraiser, I think, for Alzheimer's. Maybe both years, I'm not positive. But it's just cool to go up and race against your friends, and
right.
Every year it's been getting more and more professional. They had Crazy Timing one last year, and
right.
And then people are getting serious, and you see the competitors asking what was my time, you know? And that's the most fun for me, is watching people at an event that really care about because we're
see those events. For me, it's the opposite, because I live in that world of people caring and racing the clock constantly. It's the people that never race that are there and watching them kind of get through it. When's my start time? How do you do this? Am I in the gate? Am I should I buckle in now? No, you're 20 people out. Chill, dude. And it's seeing that aspect of it.
That's fun.
And it's just so much love goes in, and it's just a community of shredders just making a fun event happen.
It definitely warms my heart that snowboarding still is that, because in media, a lot of times all you're seeing is Olympics, or all you're seeing is, the upper echelons. It's cool. It's
right.
But there's so much content now too. I have to filter out my social media stuff. I got to take out some stuff because I can't watch ballerina. There's a lot of ballerina snowboarding stuff that's happening. It's just not my thing. Technically you can do it. It's fine, and you've got your fans do that. That's cool, but And Willie from Bluebird really turned me off of anyone who grabs their under their legs when they're doing their flips and stuff, because it's a different generation. It's a different thing, and I grew up watching guys around here. When you mentioned Donner, I think of that. Damian Sanders and Snowboarders in Exile, that big jump.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and Sun, and I think of all the shots with the lake in the
poke,
background.
backflip Indy.
That whole iguana backflip thing, that is 100% Damien. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I like that kind of social media stuff.
Totally. Like Bud Fawcett.
Oh yeah.
He's a great follow for all that stuff.
Amazing. Yeah.
And he's
John Foster,
Yeah.
Bud Fawcett. those OG
pull
guys.
stuff out that I'm like, oh shit, yeah, this is the stuff that I saw in the magazines that first set the hook on me as a kid.
Tony Welch is putting out a bunch of stuff right now. It's a treat every week. Yeah, set the hook. Exactly that era, right? Like Yellow Pants, that Burton airboards, and the Avalanche stuff. Like, what in the hell? That team was so good.
Yeah, they're figuring some stuff out for sure.
Yeah, so much fun. So what's a season look like for you now?
Well, I'm here in Tahoe. Like I said, I have a 4-year-old, and she's gonna go. Like, I figured this is like the year before she enters pre-K or kindergarten, and gets into the school system. So I'm still on the U.S. team, and just taking a break for the season, and we'll revisit whether I want to go back and actually try for another Olympics.
Yeah,
which. I don't know. We don't even need to get into that.
Well, what's your gut feel? I couldn't.
I'm enjoying home a lot.
Yeah.
Like they just had a race over in Austria, and I felt pretty comfortable at home riding Powell.
Yeah.
And like I said, built that board with smoking, so I want to do some bank slaloms.
Rad.
Baker is on the list. The JLA down in Mammoth.
Yep.
Local ones. Boreal does one, and then the just some fun events. The Rally for Rocker.
Yeah.
And then I have a snowmobile, so that's kind of a priority, getting out in the backcountry. I mean, I got this snowmobile in 2012, and it's got 800 miles on it.
Oh, wow.
I just haven't had time. Or
Hatchet dangled that carrot yesterday. Like, he's like, why don't you come back to Homewood? If my daughter rides tomorrow, we'll ride at Homewood for an hour, and then she'll go to school late, and then we can keep riding. It'll be fun. Or maybe we could, I got 2 sleds. We could go in the backcountry. And I was just like, okay, you just said the S word. Like, if we could sled in Tahoe, are you kidding me? And then he kind of was talking me down from how excited I was. He's like, well, there's only 2 of us. We'd have to find a crew. And, there's a lot of, it's the first day of the year. So we'd have to winterize them and make sure that I was like, oh man, sledding here would be, especially today.
Yeah, today's a good day.
Today would have been.
It's cold out there. We
epic.
have snow.
Yeah.
It's settled for a couple days.
Yeah, today's a perfect day for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's killer sled access stuff.
Yeah, I never knew.
It's
but
all pretty super accessible.
Yeah,
especially if you're with Hatchet, who probably spent more time back there than a lot of people combined.
Yeah,
throughout the years. And
so you're going to get some sledding this year, obviously.
Yeah, going to get some sledding and just ride. And my priority is my daughter.
Spending time with the daughter.
Yeah, and she shreds. So
rad.
We get out there and have a little daddy-daughter dates. And
that's fun.
She's almost off the leash.
Yeah.
She's just now starting to figure out toe side, heel side a little bit. And so,
what do you think on the competing side? Are you going to encourage her to go into some?
You know what? My philosophy is give her as much opportunity as possible.
Yeah.
Like, she goes to a ski school, or a Wednesday morning we drop her off with a ski instructor for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, they can teach her how to ski.
Totally.
If I'm going to be out there, I'm going to teach her how to snowboard.
Rad.
But give her both options, and it's not up for me to decide.
Yeah,
it's her life. She can. I mean, she does dance class and swimming, and it's like, here you go. Here's opportunity. Right. You figure out what's cool for you, and make those decisions.
That's a good way to be.
But I mean, there's definitely. I mean, she started early when she would walk. She could stand up. I'd have her strapped into that little Burton chiclet in the living room, towing her around in circles.
And
then I took that to the resort, just on the flats, and I just walk on flat ground towing her. And I understand that a lot of that's just for me.
It's all for us. I did it too.
And I mean, it's getting out of the house and. But now she's stoked on it. She's high-fiving me and all right, that's a good run. When's hot chocolate?
Yeah. That's my kids too. They both really, they would ask, can we go? Can we go snowboarding? And that would just warm my heart.
It does. It does.
because it's that passion. And then it's like you're not dragging them somewhere that's for you. You're going somewhere for them, and it's great for you too.
Totally.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Totally. But I mean, yeah, I'm definitely not going to soccer mom or moto dad a kid into it. It's like if she's into it and if she wants to check it out, for sure.
I thought I was going to, but it's really uncomfortable out there telling your kid to do something where they might get hurt. And they're like, oh, no, I don't really want to. And then
you see, I think it naturally needs to happen.
It has to happen naturally.
Because who knows? I mean, there's snowboarders that, like you said, you don't like competition, or like, and then there's people that are competitive like myself that love it. And so, and there's nothing wrong with either of those.
No, for sure.
And so it's just, like I said, just give an opportunity and letting them find their own path.
Yeah. Yeah, my kid's working in a shop right now, my 16-year-old.
Killer.
The same shop that I worked in when I was a little
That was
older.
my first job.
Yeah, what shop?
That was Ground Zero.
Oh, sick. Yeah, I've heard of that shop.
In Sandpoint.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I'm still super, super good friends with the owners. That's closed, and a little shop rat kid, little skater punk that used to come in when I'd work, and we'd sit and watch videos until a customer would come in. He now starts the new shop 7B in Sandpoint, and it's brick and mortar, and
it's a tough time for that stuff, huh?
They're right on First Street, and he seems like he does pretty well.
Good.
It,
that's something that's blowing my mind. When I went to Boreal, you can pop your head in that Woodward's there, and like kids have an opportunity now. Like trampoline parks feel to me like they're just brand new. But this is a trampoline park / action zone that
launch ramps, foam pits.
It's really impossible
park.
to imagine. Like I couldn't have imagined it 10 years ago. No way. They have these things. I watch these kids going back and forth on what's essentially like a half pipe with 2 hits or 3 hits in the middle, which are like kind of like, it would be perfect training for border cross. It's insane.
Yeah, that little roller track up there.
Is that what it's called, a roller track?
I don't know.
It just goes back and forth, and they've got these ski things now where they're like skiing on. It's not rollerblades; they're roller skis.
Yeah, they have boards.
Oh, do they? I was going to ask.
There's snowboards out there with little roller, maybe like 4 wheels per edge.
Yeah, I got to try it.
Rollerblade wheels per edge.
Yeah. And you just pump back and forth, and then you can
get up and hit it into the foam pit and try your triple cork.
Oh my God, I should.
That's what makes all that possible.
Yeah. Because we used to learn it on the snow. Coming all the way full circle back to Corey calling you out for hucking. Like I can remember just hucking stuff, like just chuck it and hope that your board winds up under your feet somewhere.
Sitting there scratching your head. How the hell does Peter Line do that?
How does he do it?
Where's he looking in the air, and how's he's off axis? What?
That was the thing about Peter Line. If you were to like dissect his tricks, you couldn't. There was no tells. He didn't have a tell. Like he didn't throw a shoulder. He didn't throw his head. He just looked like he was just snowboarding. And then all of a sudden he would do a rodeo or something. You'd be like, okay, it looked right. It looked like, okay, he did that right. And then you would go out and try it, and you're like, that looks wrong. It feels wrong. My friend videotaped it. It looks terrible. Like, how did he figure that out without a foam pit and a rollerboard?
Yeah, the dude's a squirrel in the air.
Yeah, a squirrel. Well, same with Travis Rice. Do you remember seeing some of that Travis Rice stuff and being like, what was that? Is he just hucking and then just like lucking out? The board just happens to be there when he comes around.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff.
Yeah,
that air awareness. And, I mean,
did you straddle the line on that training stuff, or was all your training on snow?
I mean, I had a trampoline at home. Maybe when I was like 14 or something like that. 14, 15, we got a trampoline.
Taped the edges of a board.
Would bounce on it and stuff. Actually, like one of my first sponsor me videos was to K2.
Sick.
And part of the segment was on trampoline with a snowboard.
That's amazing.
I was like, look, dude, I can do like a cork 5.
Yeah.
On my snowboard.
Yeah.
Just sitting there bouncing a couple grabs and stuff.
That's incredible.
And yeah, actually, maybe it was like a second year because they had sponsored me because I was on like a K2 Juju.
Oh, those boards were awesome.
Right, like low profile tip and tail, so you could really
yeah
you'd really spin.
Yeah, totally. They were like 145 or something. They were so small. I think the Juju was at maybe a 48, and I don't even know if they made a 50 anything.
Yeah, I think a 52
maybe
is what I was on.
Yeah, wicked small. Remember they were, and that was the year the Fat Bob came out, and the Daniel Frank had the whale board. Daniel Frank might have been the year after. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
K2 was crushing it those years. I love that.
But yeah, no, I mean, we didn't have that, and just like hitting rope swings and hucking and bridges and stuff like that. And, definitely no foam pits or anything like that.
The foam pit
the
thing
whole
is
generation
crazy.
was underneath me.
Yeah.
Before my time.
Yeah. Do you still do some freestyle stuff? You still get in the air?
Oh, totally.
Nice.
Totally. I mean, my passion now with snowboarding is riding POW.
Yeah.
I prefer lines.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'll go into the park and play around. There's a group of kids that I learned a bunch of tricks with here early on, and I got my quiver still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be a great day?
I keep it like right around 540 these days.
Yeah. 5 for me is pushing it. Like slow 3 or something off something. But a 5's fun when you come,
Yeah, I got like backside cork 5, and then like a front side nose grab 5, and
wow, yeah, sick.
So I'm like, I've been hitting a bunch of shifty backside 180s.
Yeah.
Kind of when Noah passed away, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna I used to do a lot of them, and I was like, just feels good, and let's blast one out.
Yeah. There's been a lot of Noah talk off mic here in Tahoe, which is nice.
Yeah.
Corey's got his Mambo sock with the Pocahontas guy screened on it. I saw that and I was like, wow, that's incredible. And just his influence is here. You can feel it everywhere you go.
100%.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places around Tahoe that crazy stuff went down. Like in those videos that we watched over and over and over again, So,
yeah, I mean, definitely when someone passes, it helps talking about it.
Yeah.
And just like reliving memories, and keeps that person relevant to some degree.
Yeah. He is one of the best well-rounded snowboarders perhaps ever,
Oh yeah, dude. The dude is complete shred.
Yeah. His Alaska footage and his style, the way he styled out everything. And he was such a strong skater too.
Yeah.
So I think he's one of the only guys that had a pro skateboard and snowboard at the same time. I don't think you could do it now.
Maybe like Shaun White.
Yeah, and then that's a whole other thing.
That's a different thing.
Did you travel and compete with it? Because he didn't compete, like you didn't.
No, when I moved here, he was on M3 at that time.
Yeah.
99.
Yeah.
And we just free rode together. We had days free riding.
Yeah.
But he wasn't competing, and
yeah, he hadn't competed in years, right? Like his competition days were real early, like H Street stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I showed up to Tahoe after all that. We competed one time.
Yeah.
My buddy had his grandma's Ferrari, and Noah had his Porsche, and we ended up at the same sushi restaurant just randomly one night. And Noah's like, "You guys just roll up in that Ferrari?" Like, yeah. Parked it next to my Porsche. I see him. I'm like, "Yeah, let's race to Squaw." And so he beat us.
Really? Oh, that would have been sick.
We did a little road racing.
That's amazing.
That was the only time.
Oh, man. This has been the best conversation. Thank you so much for doing it.
Hey, man. I appreciate your show. I learn a lot from it, and a lot of riders that I've looked up to, and Vancouver guys, all the whiskey guys. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I watched that film a lot. in that shop in Idaho.
Yeah.
And
that's hilarious.
So
And
my
awesome.
pleasure.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
All right. FNRad shoutouts this week to Andy Palmquist, Jay Hilton, and the company Fast and Loose. It's a fun snowboard company that makes wax and stickers and accessories, so keep an eye out for Fast and Loose gear. I'd also like to thank TJ Schneider for generously offering his Snowboarding Realms YouTube channel to the FNRad podcast so we can go out on YouTube. Stay tuned for video of the show. Yeah, I should thank Vans here for building me a set. That was awesome. And be sure to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.